The old Blackwell Manor loomed ahead as Emma stood on the cracked, moss-covered path. She adjusted her backpack and looked around, the fog swirling thickly in the air. Her friend, Olivia, had invited her here for a weekend getaway, claiming the house had been recently restored and was now a beautiful place to stay. But as Emma read the large sign out front, Blackwell Manor, Est. 1854, a chill ran down her spine. "Come on, it'll be fun," Olivia had said over the phone earlier. "I swear, it's just an old mansion. It's huge. We'll have the whole place to ourselves." Emma wasn't so sure anymore. The door creaked as she pushed it open, revealing a grand, dusty entrance hall. She stepped inside, the smell of must and aged wood filling her nostrils. The chandelier above her looked centuries old, with cobwebs hanging from its edges. "Olivia," Emma called, her voice echoing through the dark corridor, but there was no reply. She took a step forward, the floorboards groaning beneath her. The air felt heavy, oppressive, like the house was alive, watching her every move. Emma set her things down in a small room on the second floor, but there was something off about it. The bed was covered in faded floral sheets, and the wallpaper peeled slightly at the edges. As she sat on the bed, she heard the sound of soft whispering from the hallway. "Olivia," she called again, louder this time, but still there was no response. Feeling uneasy, Emma went to the window and looked out. The mist had thickened, swallowing the garden and the surrounding woods. Suddenly, the reflection in the glass shifted. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she saw a figure standing behind her in the reflection, a woman in a long, black dress, her face obscured by shadows. Whipping around, Emma found nothing but an empty room. Heart pounding, she quickly closed the curtains. "I'm just tired," she muttered to herself, trying to calm her nerves. Later that night, Emma decided to find Olivia and see what was going on. She stepped into the hallway, the air colder now, and began making her way down the stairs. As she reached the bottom, she noticed a door slightly ajar at the far end of the hallway, a door she was sure hadn't been there before. Her curiosity got the better of her, and she walked toward it, her footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. Inside, the room was vast, filled with old furniture covered in white sheets. But what caught her attention was the large portrait hanging on the wall. It depicted a woman, pale skin, dark eyes, and an expression so hauntingly lifeless, it made Emma's stomach churn. A soft rustle came from behind her, and she spun around, heart racing. Olivia was standing in the doorway, her face ashen, her eyes wide with terror. "Emma, we have to leave," Olivia whispered, her voice trembling. "We shouldn't have come here." Suddenly, the temperature dropped. A cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candle Emma had been holding. The room plunged into darkness. In the distance, Emma heard faint footsteps, not their own, but the sound of someone else walking. Olivia grabbed Emma's hand, her grip tight. "We're not alone here." A loud crash echoed from upstairs, followed by frantic, muffled screams. Emma felt the ground beneath her feet tremble. Something was wrong, horribly wrong. What was that? Emma gasped, clutching Olivia's arm. "It's her," Olivia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The woman in the painting. She haunts this house, and she wants us gone." The house seemed to shift, the walls narrowing, and the hallway stretching longer than it should have. The door they had entered through had vanished, replaced by a long, dark corridor stretching into the unknown. "Where's the way out?" Emma cried, panic rising in her chest. They ran, but every turn led them deeper into the house. The whispers grew louder. Now they were no longer whispers, but guttural growls that sent shivers down Emma's spine. Her breathing quickened, her heart racing as she and Olivia stumbled down the dark hallway, desperate for an exit. The house groaned, as if it was alive, and suddenly, a shadow darted past them, too fast to be human. Olivia screamed, and Emma spun around to see her friend standing frozen in place, her eyes wide in horror. The woman from the portrait was there, standing just behind Olivia, her long, bony fingers reaching for her. No, Olivia, Emma shouted. But the words barely left her mouth before the woman in the black dress lunged. The air was thick with the scent of decay as she grabbed Olivia's arm, pulling her into the darkness. Emma's mind raced. She had to save her. With no time to think, Emma grabbed a nearby candle holder and swung it at the woman, but her hand passed right through her. The shadowy figure screeched, a horrifying, inhuman sound that rattled Emma's bones. As the figure disappeared into the shadows, Emma heard Olivia's voice, weak and distant. "Emma, help me." Frantically, Emma ran toward the sound, but when she reached the room where Olivia had been, there was no sign of her. The room was empty, the walls closing in as if the house was swallowing them whole. "Olivia!" Emma screamed, her voice breaking. The ground trembled beneath her, and the house seemed to breathe in time with her panicked heartbeat. The windows were now covered in a thick, black fog, and the doors were all locked. There was no escape. Suddenly, a cold hand gripped Emma's shoulder. She turned slowly, her eyes widening in horror. Standing before her was Olivia, her face pale and hollow. Her eyes were empty, lifeless. "Emma!" Olivia's voice was a hollow whisper. "You should have listened. You shouldn't have come here." The room around them darkened, the walls closing in tighter and tighter, until Emma could hardly breathe. She was trapped, just like all the others before her. Blackwell Manor had claimed yet another soul. And with a final, eerie scream, Emma disappeared into the darkness, her cries lost forever in the house that never let go.